Hey everyone! So we are going to continue on with solving logarithmic equations. And I just kind of want to remind you guys that we've learned kind of two ways so far to solve logarithmic equations. Okay, so there's the kind like over here where only one of the pieces has a log attached to it. And then in order to solve it, we do a log rule to put it in exponential form. So only one of the pieces has a log. And then we've also learned where both of the pieces have a log. And since the bases are equal, we can set their arguments equal to each other. Okay, so those are the two ways we've learned so far. So as we continue on with this chapter, we're going to put together a bunch of different pieces of things that we've learned together with logs to solve some harder equations is kind of what we're going for. Okay. All right. So before we get to some harder problems, I just want to do a warm-up. So it says solve the equation. So again, notice there's only a log on one side. So when there's only a log on one side, that's where we do our log roll. Just remember, we always start to the base, what it equals, and then what's left. And I'm going to put this in exponential form. So this will be 2 to the 5th equals 5x plus 7. And then from here, it's a pretty easy equation that we can solve. 2 to the 5th is 32. And then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And then divide both sides by 5. And it looks like my answer is x equals 5. And now remember, when we have log equations, we always need to check to make sure that this answer leaves our argument positive. Remember, we can never have negative arguments. So when I go ahead and plug the 5 in for x, I'm going to get 25 plus 7, which is 32, which is indeed a positive number. So since our argument is positive, we like this answer. All right. So like I said, we're going to get a little bit more complicated today. So this is the problem we're going to see today. So we have 4 times log base 3 of 4x plus 2 equals 14. So first thing I want to point out that notice the only thing in the argument is this 4x. The 4 outside and this plus 2 are not part of the log. All right. So in order to solve this, we will end up doing a log roll because there's only one thing with a log. But before we can solve this, we need to isolate this log. We need to get the log totally by itself. So we need to get the log totally by itself. So what we're going to do first is we are going to subtract 2 from both sides. So think of it like when we were solving radicals, like square roots, and we had to get the root totally by itself. Kind of the same idea. And again, I need to keep going. My log is not totally by itself. So in order to get it totally by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. All right. Now, notice we have the log totally by itself. So now is where our log roll is going to come in so we can get it into exponential form. So when we do our log roll, it's going to be 3 to the 3rd equals 4x. And now it's a fairly simple equation to solve. 3 to the 3rd is 27. And in order to get x by itself, I need to divide both sides by 4. So it looks like I'm going to end up with an answer of 27 divided by 4. And again, we need to check to make sure that when we plug that back in, our argument here will stay positive. And 4 times 27 divided by 4 is 27, which is a positive number. So this answer works. If we would have got a negative 27 divided by 4, When we plug that in, we end up with a negative argument. And again, we can't have negative arguments. So if this would have been a negative 27/4 for our answer, we would have thrown that one out. It would have been extraneous. All right, so for all the problems you have to do today, you have to isolate the log before you can do your log roll. Let's do one more example. Let's do this one right here. All right, so again, first thing we need to do is isolate the log. So in order to do that, I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And again, the log's not totally by itself. I need to divide both sides by 7 first. And let's see, 20 divided by 7 is 4. Now my log is totally by itself. Now I can do a log roll to put it in exponential form. So we will have 5 to the power of 4 equals 2x minus 6. See, I do not know what 5 to the power of 4 is off the top of my head. 625. Again, simple equation to solve. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And then divide both sides by 2. And it looks like my answer is going to be 631 divided by 2. And now again, we need to go ahead and check to make sure that when we plug that in, our argument stays positive, which it should. So we have 2 times 631 divided by 2 minus 6, which we end up getting 625, which is indeed a positive number. So we are okay with the solution. All right. So again, in your homework tonight, first thing you need to do is isolate your log, get it totally by itself, then do your log roll and solve. Have a great day, guys.